Hello there everyone, this is Seb and welcome to another video in which I wanted to take a look at Endstream, and I did. And this resulted in like 6 attempts at a script. To say I am conflicted on the thing is a big understatement, and I'm finding it a little hard to convey my thoughts in a concise and fair manner. So it's time to throw in crutches such as disclaimers and apologies to actually get something out there. First of all, I am sorry this one is pretty late, and I will do my best to stay informative and avoid too many tangents, but I can't give any promises. To get everyone up to speed, Endstream is a streaming service specifically designed to stream games that run on emulated retro consoles. So this may also include indie or homebrew games. This allows for a totally legal way to play older games, which is something that many people have been looking for. Now before we dive in, I think it'll be a good idea to first define who this service is actually intended for, as I fear my harshness is mostly the result of discovering that perhaps I'm not actually the target demographic here. As I understood their marketing, they are aiming at retro enthusiasts and offer an alternative for spacious hardware collections or finicky emulation solutions. However, now that I have spent some time with it, I'd say that it's more suitable for casual gamers for a quick and no-hassle retro gaming fix, or, to put it less delicately, aimed towards people who don't know any better. Because right now, with just a little work, there is quite a few solutions out there that provide much more satisfactory results. And I wanna be clear right at the start here that I did enjoy my time with Antstream, and I'm fairly sure I will find more enjoyment on the platform in the future. But a part of me would love to see a concept like this really succeed, and it's very disappointing to see quite a few issues where it just doesn't capitalize on its potential. In the 5 years the service has been running, there are still a couple of issues that completely baffle me. It makes me question the passion towards retro gaming and preservation of the people behind the service. I do think it's there, but some aspects just feel so half-assed that I find it hard to recommend Endstream as a gateway into retro gaming. So I may come across rather critical on some aspects, and I might end up burning some bridges here, as yes, I was offered a key to take a look. It's not my intention to bash the service, and I want to stress again, there is good fun to be had with Endstream. Though that also for a great deal is just a testament to the timeless nature of the actual games. And these games deserve an amazing environment to run in, and I'd love to see a thriving retro community developing around that. So if anyone from Endstream is watching, I do hope you will take critiques, be it mine or anyone else's, into consideration to up the ante towards a platform us retro gamers can proudly call home. And with that, I'd say I've waffled on long enough. How about we dive into some actual specifics of my experiences with Antstream. And we're starting with a huge positive, it's low requirements. It's technically available on pretty much any platform that can run an internet browser and you can connect an input device to. It also has dedicated apps for various devices, though not for PlayStation or Switch as of yet. Streaming by nature does come with some downsides. For starters, you need a strong internet connection. At no point will you ever have the actual game files on your system. It is kind of silly to realize that in streaming the footage, you are most likely receiving data far larger than the actual game files per second. Any hiccup on the line will result in some stuttering, lost frames or, worst of all, input lag. Endstream has multiple servers to connect to, and I have a strong and stable internet connection. I was actually pleasantly surprised at how well the games actually play. Loading one in is fast and input lag is minimal. Even your fighters and shoot 'em ups are playable this way. Trust me, I don't last much longer on actual hardware in these genres. Another important thing to realize is that you will never own any of the games here. Any streaming service giveth as well as taketh content. As soon as a license expires, games will vanish. This has sadly already resulted in the removal of some big hitters such as Mortal Kombat, Rampage and Smash TV. Now, there is plenty to be said about the BS that is licensing of these old games by companies who basically had no hand in making them, and this supposed need to do right by these corporations, but I will try to stay on topic here. Endstream does seem to do their best to snatch up what they can, but don't expect Mario jumping around on here anytime soon. Its library consists mostly of forgotten titles from a wide variety of systems. The bulk of the games come from the C64, ZX Spectrum and Arcade, but there is representation from other systems as well, from the Atari 2600 all the way up to the PS1. It's a nice mix of genres, most of which are score-based, though there is some adventures to be had as well. The fact that there are so many rather unknown games I actually see as a bit of an advantage. Endstream introduced me to some games I wasn't familiar with yet, and it's kinda nice to dive into a chest of obscurities like this. While controlling the games works surprisingly well, streaming the games is by no means a perfect way to play these games. I've noticed occasional screen tearing, and whatever compression they are using on the video feed, it cannot keep up with fast changes of sprites, and you occasionally see brief moments of artifacting to the point where even I notice them and I'm half blind. This never really gets in the way of the enjoyment of the games, but it can give an unfavorable impression of what the games actually look like. You are also very limited when it comes to customizing your experience. Want to use screen filters? Tough luck. Would you like to play around with some of the arcade game options? Not here, pal. Don't like the default controls we've chosen for you? Get your own emulator, you scrub. Excuse me, what? I just cannot figure out how in 5 years they still have not figured out something fundamental as customizable controls. From what I understand, there is an update in the works to address this, but that was announced over half a year ago now. Setting up controls for arcade games can be very personal when it comes to the more unique and particular control schemes that were not intended for a controller. For example, with the default layout, Ikari Warriors is near unplayable for me. I need that rotation on the shoulder buttons, damn it. Now, most games do have sensible controls and you can reference them when starting up a game. It just seems like a huge oversight that you can't change them at all. Another example that personally annoys the hell out of me is that the insert credit and start button are mapped to the exact same button in arcade games. This makes it impossible to select characters in some games. On the platform there is a multiplayer category of games. Now don't get fooled by these, because all that means is that the games are capable of multiplayer, but you can only utilize this through local multiplayer. With the games being ran on a server and no direct peer-to-peer connection, netplay would be pretty hard, I assume. That's not to say that there is no interaction at all amongst players online though. One of its biggest features in favor of Endstream are its challenges and tournaments. Games have global rankings as well to see who is the best, and since the games are ran on a server, it's fairly safe from potential Mitchells out there, I guess. I find the added challenges the most fun feature on the platform. These give you specific tasks in games to achieve medals, each awarding you with some gems as well. You can kind of see them as achievements in 3 difficulty varieties each. Gems can be used to buy harder challenges or wagers against other players to see who will do best in these challenges. Gems are plentiful, challenging others is cheap, and you get some from just logging in, so it's really more of a measure of success than an actual currency, and apart from the service subscription there is no other in-app purchases. Subscribing is optional, as gems can also be used to start games on the free plan, though this will also expose you to ads as well. Aside from challenging a friend, a challenge can also be issued to the whole community, resulting in a giant Slayer event. In execution there isn't much of a difference really. I feel this would need some kind of a multiplier added over the giant score to make it actually interesting and feel like a community effort to take them on. Now it just takes one person beating the set score to win it for the community. The quality of the challenges themselves is unfortunately rather inconsistent. I do like how in some games they change the way you play the game. For example, in Pac-Man they can disable the power pellet, or turn those into actual hazards, making you change your approach to a high score. Unfortunately, not all games have challenges, and only a few games have well thought out ones. I'm not the greatest gamer out there, and far too often I've gotten a gold medal on a first try. It's still easily my favorite aspect of the service though. What I definitely don't like is the actual Endstream app. It's clunky and needlessly hard to find what you are looking for. You can't easily reset games and you have to load them in each time, which can be rather annoying when chasing down a specific challenge that requires multiple tries. Searching through games also needs a serious update. A service like this is great to discover games new to you, but there is no easy way to methodically go through the list. It's bizarre. There are genre categories, but there is no way to browse through games based on consoles, year or publisher unless you specifically search for that. And even then, there is no sorting options. Unfortunately, the app lacks any accessibility options and screen readers won't be able to read any of it. When doing a search, you only see box art, which half of the time are unreadable to me, and navigating through the list is pretty damn slow. Game pages also lack an option to quickly view screenshots. For a service that claims to be all about preservation, you'd think they'd also offer some manual and marquee scans, or history and credits at the very least. But it's all very minimalistic. You can't even see game instructions without starting the game, and those text boxes have no continuous scroll on a controller. Again, basic ass features. How is this such a mess 5 years in service? Ironically, it's this clunky system that actually led me to something else that pissed me off. Endstream advertises with more than 1300 games. But this number is shamefully inflated, and browsing through the games, it reminds me of those cheap Chinese consoles. I originally had a big rant here, but to keep it short, there is around 1000 different games available, which is a huge number in and of itself, so I just don't understand the need to artificially inflate this number. Please, Antstream, condense similar games into a single listing and let users select a version on boot up instead. It would make navigation much easier and will look more honest too. Seriously, do we really need 5 versions of Stormlord? Or are we really going to count the AGA version of Simon the Sorcerer as being a separate game? The worst offender I've found here is Pinball Dreams. Amazing game, I love it. But each table has become its own game and you have 2 versions of it, so this one game is actually counted 8 times. And Pinball Dreams is also a good example of an inferior version getting the challenges. Like really, who in their right mind would want to play the SNES version when you've also got the superior Amiga version? Ultimately, a best version is something very subjective, but I did find myself questioning the team's choices quite often. Games, or other versions of games, are added each week and there is a handy new games section. What's not clear though are which games are getting removed, and when. Would be great to know what's going to leave so we can still have a quick go at them. Finally, a note on preservation of the games themselves. Some things are better left not done if you can't do them justice. This is the PS1 Classic loaded as preserved by Antstream. I will let those familiar with the game shout off in the comments. I'm curious if I'm the only one questioning the actual passion for preservation from whoever thought this was acceptable. I really hope that Endstream as a service can improve in the future, as I do believe that there is a demand for what they offer. Whatever your stance is on the ethics of emulation, at the end of the day Endstream is competing with things that are easily available for free. The argument of legality alone is not going to win the people over. The strength lies in convenience and the ability to build a sense of community, but unfortunately this has not fully been utilized yet. I will say that for just 30 bucks a year it's not too expensive and it's easy to get your money's worth in entertainment from just the challenges alone. However, most people who are serious about retro gaming will most likely have better solutions to play their games already. Endstream does claim to have some exciting things in the pipeline, but I'd love to see them work on the basic necessities first. I also hope they keep their focus on acquiring more actual retro games and they don't completely get invested in the indie scene, which I do like to see as well, but there's already plenty of ways to play those. I'll keep on the lookout and perhaps do some updates as interesting things come up and maybe do a stream to hunt down some good scores or something. But I'm also curious about your takes on streaming services in general and, of course, Antstream in particular. Have you tried it? Is it something you would consider? Let me know. For now, I'd wish to thank you very much for sticking around during the video and for indulging me in my ramblings. I hope to meet you in another video soon and until that time, take care. De mazzel!